Ethan had never imagined he would be so far from Earth, standing on a planet where the sky shimmered with two suns and the ground glowed faintly beneath his boots. The research station was a small metallic structure, half buried into a cliff with a view of jagged mountains and alien forests stretching for miles. Humans were rare here, and Ethan was the newest member of a team studying the strange ecosystem and technology remnants left by an unknown civilization. Among the team was Lyra, a tall alien woman whose presence dominated every room she entered. Her skin was a smooth silvery blue and her eyes glowed faintly in dim light, giving her an aura of quiet power. She had muscles that rippled even when she moved slowly, and she carried herself with the confidence of someone who had seen and survived much more than any human ever could. Ethan had heard stories of Lyra's skill in combat and her strict discipline, but he had never expected to meet her up close. On this particular morning, Ethan had been assigned to move heavy crates of alien equipment to the lab. The crates were cumbersome and the paths outside the station were uneven and rocky. Lyra appeared silently beside him, lifting a crate with ease while Ethan struggled with his own. He tried to match her pace, but the crate in his hands felt impossibly heavy. "You're strong," Ethan said, meaning to compliment her ability to carry the crate so effortlessly, but the words came out differently than he intended. "I mean, your body." Lyra froze mid-step. Her glowing eyes widened slightly, and Ethan immediately realized he had said something wrong. The other team members paused, exchanging confused glances. On her planet, personal compliments about the body were rare and held a significant meaning. Ethan's awkward words sounded more like admiration of her form rather than praise for her strength. I didn't mean it like that," Ethan stammered, dropping the crate. He could feel his face turning red under the helmet. "I meant your strength, your skill, not your body." Lyra tilted her head, studying him with an expression that was almost unreadable. For a long moment she said nothing. Ethan wondered if she was angry or about to report him to the station commander. He swallowed hard, regretting every word. Finally, Lyra spoke. "You humans, you have a strange way of speaking," she said, her voice calm but carrying a hint of curiosity. "You do not understand how your words sound to others. But I am curious why you said them." Ethan blinked. I was just trying to compliment your strength, honestly. I didn't mean anything else. I'm sorry if I offended you." Lyra's eyes softened slightly, though her posture remained upright and authoritative. "Curious," she murmured. "On my world, body compliments are rare. They are usually reserved for people we trust or admire deeply. Your words, they were bold, human. Most would stay silent." Ethan let out a nervous laugh. "Well, I guess I'm not most humans. I tend to say things without thinking sometimes." Lyra did not respond immediately. She continued walking beside him, silently observing the alien terrain as if she were weighing his words against some invisible standard. Ethan followed, unsure if he should continue talking or simply stay silent. The rest of the day passed in a blur of routine. Ethan avoided Lyra as much as he could, not wanting to say another wrong word. But every time he glanced at her, he noticed subtle signs of curiosity in her expression. An eyebrow slightly raised, a faint smirk when she thought he wasn't looking. He wondered if she remembered his awkward compliment and if she was truly offended, or if something else had sparked her interest. That evening, as Ethan prepared his equipment for the next day, there was a soft knock on his quarters door. He froze. Visitors were rare and at this hour almost unheard of. He hesitated, then opened the door. Lyra stood there, tall and composed, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light of the room. "May I enter?" she asked. Yes, of course," Ethan replied, stepping aside. His heart pounded. Lyra entered, moving with her usual grace. She studied the room briefly, then turned her attention to him. "You speak differently from other humans," she said. "Your words are strange yet honest. It intrigues me." Ethan swallowed, unsure how to respond. I didn't mean to cause trouble," he said quietly. Lyra's gaze softened further. "You did not. In fact, your words have given me insight into your species. You humans are straightforward, yet unaware of how others interpret your intentions. That is rare." Ethan blinked. He had expected anger or at least irritation, not a conversation about human nature and insight. "I guess that's a good thing?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "Yes," Lyra said simply. She paused, then added, "I have never met a human who would speak openly, even when unsure of customs. Most would remain silent, hiding behind fear or caution." Ethan laughed nervously. Well, I'm not exactly known for caution. I tend to speak first and think later. Lyra tilted her head, studying him. Perhaps that is why we are speaking now. You have shown honesty and courage, even in something so simple as words. The conversation lingered between them, the silence not uncomfortable but filled with an unusual tension. Ethan realized that he was not just talking to Lyra the warrior, the imposing alien, but to someone genuinely curious about humans. And he found himself drawn to her intellect, her presence, and the subtle warmth behind her strict exterior. After a few moments, Lyra finally spoke again. Tomorrow we will work together on the external scans. I'm curious to see how your species handles practical tasks. Ethan nodded, still slightly awed. I'll do my best. I promise, Lyra gave a small nod. Your best is adequate for now. But know this, human. Your words can carry power beyond your understanding. Remember that. With that, she turned and left the room, leaving Ethan alone with his thoughts. He leaned against the wall, heart racing, replaying the events of the day. He had expected embarrassment, perhaps even anger from Lyra, but instead he had been met with curiosity and a rare form of respect. Somehow his clumsy compliment had opened a door, one that he did not yet fully understand. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He thought about Lyra's words and the way she had spoken about human honesty and courage. He realized that in a world filled with advanced alien technology and formidable warriors, something as simple as honesty could make a difference. It could bridge worlds. He wondered if tomorrow, on the scans outside the station, he could prove himself not just through words, but through action. He felt a strange mix of nervousness and excitement, knowing that he was standing at the edge of something significant, not a battle or a mission, but a connection, one that could change how he and Lyra saw each other and perhaps how humans were seen on this distant planet. As he finally drifted to sleep, Ethan resolved to be careful with his words, but also to remain true to his nature. He did not know what the future held, but he knew that he wanted to learn more about Lyra, and perhaps show her that humans could be more than she had ever imagined. The twin suns set beyond the jagged horizon, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. Ethan lay in his bunk, a quiet determination settling over him. He did not yet know the full consequences of a simple compliment, but he had a feeling that the events of this day would shape much more than he could see. For the first time since arriving, Ethan felt a spark of anticipation, not just for the mission but for what came next. And somewhere deep inside he sensed that Lyra felt it too. The next morning Ethan woke earlier than usual. The twin suns had barely risen, casting pale light across the rocky terrain outside the research station. Today was the day he would accompany Lyra on an external mission to scan a nearby canyon for alien technology. His stomach twisted with nerves and excitement. Lyra was already waiting at the airlock, her posture relaxed but alert. She carried her scanning equipment with ease, every movement precise and efficient. When she saw Ethan approaching, she raised an eyebrow, her glowing eyes showing a faint amusement. "You're early," she said. "I wanted to be ready," Ethan replied, trying to sound confident. "I don't want to mess anything up." Lyra studied him for a moment. "Humans worry too much about mistakes. You will learn that sometimes action is more important than hesitation." Ethan nodded, feeling both reassured and intimidated. He followed her outside, where the alien landscape stretched endlessly. Strange plants with translucent leaves swayed in the breeze, and distant mountains shimmered with an unearthly light. Their first task was to place scanning devices along the canyon ridge. Lyra moved swiftly, setting up the equipment with practiced ease while Ethan fumbled slightly with the alien tools. "You need to hold it like this," Lyra instructed, adjusting his grip on one of the scanners. Her hands were strong and sure, and Ethan felt the warmth of her guidance. "You are too tense. Relax. Let your body follow your mind." Ethan took a deep breath and tried again. This time the device clicked into place correctly. Lyra nodded in approval. "Better. Humans can learn quickly when they focus." As they moved along the ridge, Ethan noticed that Lyra occasionally glanced at him, as if measuring his reaction to the environment and to her presence. He felt his heart race each time she looked, but he forced himself to concentrate on the task at hand. Suddenly, the scanners picked up a strange energy signal from a nearby rock formation. Lyra crouched, examining the readings. "Interesting," she murmured. "This is not natural. There may be remnants of technology buried here. Ethan's curiosity sparked. Could it be dangerous? Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. Possibly. But danger is not a reason to avoid learning. We adapt. We survive. Together, they approached the formation. Ethan's human ingenuity came into play as he noticed a pattern in the rocks that resembled a hidden entrance. With Lyra's guidance, he pushed a heavy stone aside, revealing a small tunnel. Good observation, Lyra said. Humans can be perceptive in ways my species does not expect. Ethan felt a small surge of pride. Thanks, I'm glad my mistake yesterday didn't ruin our teamwork. Lyra allowed a small smile. Your words. Yesterday were bold, but action proves character more than words ever can. They entered the tunnel, the air cooler and filled with a faint hum of unknown energy. Ethan felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Lyra moved confidently ahead, scanning for traps or dangers. Halfway through, a sudden tremor shook the tunnel. Rocks fell from above and Ethan froze. Move, Lyra commanded, grabbing his arm and pulling him to the side. Her strength was overwhelming, and yet she handled him gently, guiding him without a hint of harshness. Once the rocks settled, Ethan realized how dependent he had become on her guidance. But instead of fear, he felt admiration. Here was a being so powerful, yet so patient and aware of his limitations. Are you okay? Lyra asked, her voice steady but carrying concern. Yes, Ethan replied, catching his breath. Thanks to you, Lyra nodded. You see, human, teamwork is not just about strength. It is about trust. You trusted me and I trusted you. That is how we succeed. Further in, they discovered a chamber filled with strange alien devices. Some hummed softly. Others displayed symbols Ethan had never seen. Lyra examined them quickly, recognizing the function of each piece. You handle the analytical part, she said. I will handle the physical retrieval. Ethan worked carefully, recording data and noting each device's position. Lyra moved among the equipment with precision, lifting and adjusting devices that were far heavier than any human could manage. Watching her, Ethan thought about how his compliment yesterday had sparked a strange bond. They were learning to understand each other beyond words through action and respect. Suddenly, a mechanical barrier activated, blocking the exit. The energy field pulsed and hummed dangerously. Ethan's mind raced, trying to figure out a solution. Step back, Lyra commanded. Let me handle this. But Ethan noticed something, a pattern in the pulses that could be disrupted by applying pressure to certain panels in sequence. Wait, he shouted. I think I can disable it. Lyra raised an eyebrow but did not stop him. Proceed, human. Ethan carefully followed the pattern, pressing panels with steady hands. After a tense moment, the barrier dissolved with a soft click. Lyra's glowing eyes widened slightly. Impressive, she said. Your species' ingenuity is unexpected. Ethan smiled, relieved. I guess brains can beat brawn sometimes. Lyra allowed a small laugh, a sound rare and melodic. Sometimes. But remember, human, your courage must match your cleverness. Both are necessary. They exited the chamber and returned to the canyon ridge. The suns were setting, casting orange and purple light across the rocky terrain. Ethan felt a sense of accomplishment, but also a deeper connection to Lyra. You handled yourself well, she said as they prepared to return to the station. You are different from what I expected humans to be. Ethan looked at her, feeling a mix of pride and humility. I've learned a lot from you, I think. I understand a bit more about your people now. Lyra nodded slowly. And I have learned something about yours. Humans speak boldly, sometimes clumsily, but often honestly. That is valuable. It shows character. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. Her words were more than praise, they were recognition. Acknowledgement that he mattered, that his species mattered, and that their differences could be a bridge rather than a barrier. Back at the station, the team gathered around to review the scans and the collected devices. Lyra introduced Ethan's observations to the others, praising his quick thinking and analytical skill. The human crew members exchanged surprised glances. It was rare for a human to be acknowledged so openly by an alien officer. Ethan tried to hide his pride, but Lyra's eyes caught his, and she gave a small nod. It was a gesture that spoke volumes. She trusted him, respected him, and perhaps even enjoyed his company more than she expected. That evening, as the team settled down, Ethan found a quiet moment to reflect. The events of the day had been intense and dangerous, but they had also been rewarding. He had proven himself not just in words but in action, and more importantly, He had begun to form a bond with Lyra, a connection built on mutual respect, courage, and understanding. Lyra approached him later, standing just outside his quarters. "You have shown more than I expected," she said softly. "Your words yesterday were bold, yes, but today your actions spoke louder. You have earned my respect." Ethan felt a smile spread across his face. "Thank you, Lyra. I didn't expect that when I spoke yesterday." Lyra's glowing eyes softened. "Sometimes human mistakes lead to unexpected outcomes. Courage and honesty are often found where they are least expected." Ethan nodded, feeling a quiet sense of wonder. He had entered this mission worried about a simple mistake, and now he stood recognized by one of the most formidable beings he had ever met. "Will we work together again?" he asked, trying to keep his tone casual. Lyra's lips curved into a rare, small smile. "Yes, there is much more to explore, human, and I am curious to see how you handle it." Ethan felt a spark of excitement. There would be more challenges, more missions, and undoubtedly more moments where he would have to rely on both his mind and his heart. But for the first time since arriving on this alien world, he felt confident, not just in his abilities, but in the possibility of forming bonds across worlds, despite differences in size, strength, or culture. As he prepared for bed that night, Ethan thought about how a single, clumsy compliment had started this chain of events. What began as an awkward mistake had opened a door to understanding, respect, and perhaps even friendship. He smiled to himself, realizing that the universe was full of surprises, and that some of the most powerful connections could start with something as simple as honesty. The twin suns set fully, leaving the alien sky in shades of deep purple and silver. Ethan felt a quiet peace. The day had been long and challenging, but it had also been transformative. He had learned about courage, about trust, and about the surprising ways that humans and aliens could connect. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that this was only the beginning. Lyra stood silently nearby, watching the fading light. She did not speak, but her presence was enough. Ethan understood that words were not always necessary when respect and understanding had been earned. And in that moment, he felt truly seen, not just as a human, but as someone capable of rising to challenges, bridging worlds, and earning the respect of even the most formidable alien warrior.